What's going on, everyone? Trust the Buzz here. If you're new to the channel, I make Charlotte Hornets content, so if that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. If you cannot tell by the thumbnail title of this video, in today's video, we're talking about the Charlotte Hornets win over the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies, of course, don't have Desmond Bane and don't have John Morant. The Hornets, of course, don't have LaMelo Ball, Mark Williams. But either way, it was a good game and a great game for Charlotte Hornets because it gives us hope into the future. I mean, I'm going to talk about everybody because I think everybody had something to say. I'm looking at the stats. I'm going to talk eye test, and then as we keep going, I'll kind of glance at the stats and see if they kind of back up what I say, just to make sure I'm not, obviously, the eye test isn't everything and stats isn't everything. So I try to give a good balance between the two. First off, I would like to say we'll start off with Vasilije Micic. That's what Eric Collins was calling him. He was saying Micic, but it could be Mikic. We'll say Micic for now. He got player of the game, like, from the Hornets, from their social media account, so we'll just start off with him. What an excellent game. At first, he started off a little shaky, and not even to the point where I'm, like, concerned about his future with the team or concerned about his play. It just seemed like he was a little timid, just trying to kind of find his balance. Granted, you're the leader on the floor once you're on the floor, so it's a little different. You can't just hop in and just start doing stuff. It's a little different because you are the lead point guard. You know, guys are relying on you to get the ball up and down the court, to play make, all these things. So you can't just hop in and just start dishing the ball everywhere. So it does take time. And he missed like his first couple of shots, which, if you look at his shooting percentage, it's not like it's the highest thing in the world either. Especially think about his transition from being traded. But I mean, he turned it on and it was quick. I think he missed the first two shots. Then he got like a couple of assists in, and after that, it was just on from there. And he ended up finishing with 18 points, 9 assists. I think it was like 8 from 12 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3. And I think he just looked really good, man. He looked like he controlled the game. He looked like he just wasn't flustered. The defense was unable to really force him to make quick decisions. He was able to play his own pace. And I'm not saying this. I'm not comparing the two at all. I'm not. I just think the person I'm about to compare him to has one of the best abilities at this thing that I'm about to say. And it was very comparable to me to Luka Doncic. I'm not saying he's Luka, but what I am saying is, to me, Luka Doncic has like one of the best abilities of just playing at his speed. You cannot speed Luka up. He's going to play how he wants to play. Anything that you do as the defender, more than likely Luka either calculated it or anticipated it. And that's what it looked like Micic was doing tonight. Of course, not on the level of Luka Doncic, but I just like to compare that because Luka is like just one of the best at it in the current NBA. And I can't think of a better name. So, of course, I'm just going to use Luka. And it was just admirable. It was something great to watch because this guy, we see Ish Smith, like I said in videos past, he's able to get past people, but then he kind of struggles to do anything else. Micic was able to kind of just slow things down. He wasn't trying to fly by anybody. He wasn't trying to just outmaneuver anybody. He literally was just playing his game and just being smart about it. And I just really like to see that. That's something that I've asked more of LaMelo to be able to do, because LaMelo's very quick pace, and that works for him. That's his style of game. I think every point guard needs to be able to do both. So will Micic be able to speed up his game? There was times where I was like, hey, he's doing it. So I just think overall he had a fantastic game. Cannot defend. Defending is not his thing, but I'm okay with that for what we have right now. In reality, the way it would go is if Micic is able to continue to be like this on offense, of course, not maybe scoring at this level, but just being able to be the floor general when he comes on the floor. Then I need Cody Martin to kind of go back to that defender, that scrappy guy that we had before, because there were some things Cody Martin did in this game that I just was not happy about. Not overall his performance, I wasn't unhappy, but it was just things like, all right, Cody, you don't do that. Why are we doing that all of a sudden? So, I mean, Micic, I think he was a great addition. One game, but just his style of play is something I think the team as a whole desperately needed. We needed someone to be able to kind of pick their pace and be able to kind of work the defense the way he's been able to. So he's able to pass people open. He's able to find He's able to find the open man. He's able to look off the defender. He's just able to do so much in just I almost want to say slow manner, but it's not slow. It just feels like it's in slow motion because the way he's dictating it. And once again, I know I said Luka. I'm not comparing. They're not the two of the same. I just think Luka's one of the best in the league at doing it. And that's just kind of what it reminded me of because how good he is at it. Of course, not the same way as Luka. I have to keep saying that because people will clip it and say, oh, this guy said he's like Luka. I'm not saying that. Anyway, we'll move on to Trey Mann because I'm going to touch on all the new guys first. But We'll move on to Trey Mann. I really liked his game. I know he ended up like 4-11 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. Really not concerned about the shooting numbers. I think he started off high, like he hit that 3-pointer in like the beginning of the game, and then he was able to hit like a little floater, and then I think he had another shot where he was able to like parse the defense and attack the rim and then put it up. But he had some great playmaking as well. He was able to find an open guy. There was one particular play where he kicked it out to Brandon Miller, and he was going to go up, but then like he got teams. The team kind of tried to double. Was it triple? I think it was like triple coverage anyway, because they tried to, stop the shot. And the way if you look back and see that replay, the way he kind of scanned I almost said scanned the court, because he knew, all right, if I went up on one person, but then 2 other people came out of nowhere, somebody has to be open. And the way another slow motion moment, the way he was able to see and kind of scan the court and then kick it out to Brandon Miller, and Brandon Miller switched it. It was just something that I was not expecting Trey Mann to get. I watched a lot of his film, of course not all of it, so I may be missing out plays, but I didn't see anything like that previously. It's not to say he couldn't do it. It's not to say he's never done it. I just was unable to see it, and I just didn't think it would be that good. Because, of course, playing on the NBA level, hearing the good things I've heard about Trey Mann from Thunder fans, I would assume that he's able to read the floor. That's basic basketball. But just in the minute, how quick it was and how decisive it was, I think that was something we were missing from like James Bouknight. Not even compared to two. We could even say Nick Smith Jr. That's something that they didn't do, just to have the decisiveness. He knew right away, all right, if I'm getting closed out like this, then there's somebody got to be open. All right, I'm going to be really decisive with my pass. And he kicked it perfectly to Brandon Miller. I think he played some good defense. I think he was able to switch on the guys. He was able to just follow them. He was able to kick out and switch to the three-point line. He just showed a lot of versatility on defense as well. I don't obviously know the exact numbers and remember every single defensive play he had, so I got to go back and look at the film for that. But just from the eye test and watching, I was really pleased with what he did. Davis Bertans, man, he can shoot. And I think in my video about him, I said, what I really look forward to him, whether we keep him or not, is just how does it impact the rest of the team. And it was night and day, because but the Grizzlies did not want to leave him. They did not want to leave him. And if they did, he burned them every time almost, it felt like. He burned them if they were leaving him open. And then, of course, there was that one time they were running down the court and Micic, like, no look, kicked him toward the corner. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And of course, I sound so excited. I'm not trying to overreact to the game. I'm not trying to overreact and say, like, this is the greatest team ever. It feels like it. But we look like a complete team, man. We look like a complete team. There's, of course, some things we're missing, but we look like a team. And if you've been watching this team this year, for the most part, we have not. We've won games, of course. We've won 10 games up until this point, winning the 11 tonight. But in those games, it was like, this guy went off. I mean, most of the time it was LaMelo or Brandon Miller. Like, it was people going off, which led to us winning games. It wasn't like we look like a solid team through and through. It was these guys are kind of playing out of their mind. Boston, Minnesota. These guys are playing out of their mind, and therefore they won. It wasn't, this is a complete team victory, and that's what the feeling I got tonight. Grant Williams, I think he had an excellent game. He started off, I think he missed the first 2 threes that he took, and they were like wide open. And I wasn't concerned, but the way he bounced back, and I think he hit like 3 in a row after that. I think he missed one because he shot it like at the end of the quarter, but it was basically 3 in a row, and that was good to see. He played really good defense on Jaren Jackson Jr., who, of course, I mean, if you look at the stats, he was like 12 for 13 from the field, like 5 for 9 from 3, I believe, and that's fine. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. is Jaren Jackson Jr., but of all the people we had to defend him, Grant Williams gave him the most difficult time, and that is what I said in my video, is that I hope that with Grant Williams, I'm not asking him to be this all-time defender. I'm not asking him to be this all-NBA defender. Just make it tough for the guy you're guarding. And I think he did that throughout the night, whether it was Jaren Jackson Jr., Vince Williams, anybody else you want to name. I think Grant Williams did a really good job of guarding these guys and just making their time difficult of trying to score. So I'm really happy with that. You can see some of the leadership. I know at the beginning of the game, literally before the game started, they were kind of everybody was like pushing each other out in a fun way, and he kind of brought the guys together for the huddle. Something small and subtle like that. He just the way he was able to just to gather them so quickly and say, all right, guys, let's go. We got a game to play. Going from having fun to, all right, let's focus. You should be able to have fun. You should be able to enjoy yourself. You should be, whether you're losing or winning. I mean, you're playing basketball. That's fun. I mean, whether your team is good or not, it's going to be fun regardless. But the way you're able to kind of turn it off and turn it on, that separates the good teams from the great teams. And I'm not saying we're in that echelon, but I'm saying those are categories, or those are moments that we see that we typically just didn't have in the past. So being able to have that, to gather the team real quickly, yes, you can have your fun. Let's also make sure we take care of business. Those are things I just really appreciate. And I think Grant Williams is going to be a huge part of this team. I don't care if he's scoring 18 like he did tonight. Did he score 18? I believe it was 18. Yeah, or 15. I don't care if he scored 15 like he did tonight, or if he scores 2. Just the small things that he does, I think, is going to really, really help this team. Seth Curry didn't have much of a game as I would like for him to have. He actually was the one I wanted to have the best game going into the game, strictly just because his dad is, of course, the commentator. He's wearing his dad's name. It was just the feel-good story of it, but I'm not concerned about anything I saw from him. Of course, I want him to hit more threes, but he played pretty good defense. I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised with his just defensive knowledge, his attention to detail on defense. I think he stayed in front of his guy. That's kind of it, and he played hard. So that's all you can really ask for. And then hit shots. I think the shots will come later. But I mean, there's not really much to say because he really wasn't doing that much. But it wasn't like it was a complete negative to the team, and I can really appreciate that. And two guys also I want to talk about, of course, is Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges. One thing I really, really enjoyed about this game is that, to me at least, and maybe it's because I'm so paying so much attention to the new guys, it was quiet for both of them, but like in a good way. They were performing well, but it wasn't as obvious as it's been in the last couple of weeks because you have to rely on Brandon Miller dropping 33 and Miles to drop 40 for the team to be even close. So then by the time when the game gets close at the end, they're gassed. We saw it against Toronto. We saw it against, I can't remember who they played before that. But there was like a week span where those guys are going nuclear, but they're gassed by the time they end the game. So it's kind of, game, set, match. This game was completely different. They had good games, of course. They were doing things even before the end of the game, before the second half. But it just didn't feel that way because they didn't have to dominate the ball. They didn't have to dominate the touches. They didn't have to dominate every offensive possession in order for us to get a basket, in order for us for even to get a good look. They didn't have to dominate. They literally were just able to play their game. So if Miles felt he was open or Miles felt like he had a mismatch, he had the ability, okay, I can take it. I can take it to the rim. I can step back. I can go for the mid-range. I can shoot the three. Whatever. He could just play at his pace, play to his strengths. Brandon Miller, able to do a lot of the same. I think he only missed 2 shots all game. That's good to see. These guys didn't feel like, for example, if Miles Bridges, and I'm completely making this up. I don't quite remember if this is even a matchup that happened, but Miles Bridges doesn't have to have Jaren Jackson Jr. guarding him and then saying, I got to make something happen because if we don't, then we're not even scoring. No, he was able to, all right, I can defer to Trey Mann. Trey Mann's going to find Nick Richards cutting to the basket. I can find Micic. He's going to find Bertans in the corner. Like things like that, I think is going to be really big for this team. And I don't care how many games we win between now and the end of the season. Of course, I would like to win some. Hopefully, no more 10-game losing streaks at least. But I would just like to see them continue to build that chemistry. I'm not going to say we have no reason because injuries do happen. But I would hope that the losing by 25, down by 30, they're not going to hit the way they hit every night or tonight. The new guys are not going to always do that. Of course, Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges, they're not always going to perform to a certain type of level that we're used to them performing. It's not going to happen. It's basketball. That's just the way it works. But the continuity of this team, the way this team is now kind of just put together, there's no reason we should be down 30 anymore. Not ever, because it's just going to be nights where it's just not your night. But there's no more, we're going 2 weeks straight, and we're down at least twice for 2 weeks for every game. That shouldn't happen anymore based on what I'm seeing from this team. And, I mean, it sounds kind of crazy to say that shouldn't happen again, but it really shouldn't. Like I said, it's going to happen from time to time. It's basketball. We're missing LaMelo Ball. We're missing Mark Williams. We have Steve Clifford as a coach. Things are still transitioning. These are new guys trying to gel together. We're not going to be great every night. Tonight was an anomaly. I don't think that this is just going to happen every single night. If it does, I'm happy to be wrong. But I don't think what we were seeing previously if LaMelo was out, if Miles wasn't hitting, if Brandon Miller wasn't hitting. I mean, heck, we saw times where Miles was playing just like regular basketball. And by regular basketball, let's say like 17 points, 18 points. Brandon Miller has 17 points, 18 points. We're down 30, and they're playing pretty efficiently. That shouldn't happen again. The way this team is set up, and I'm glad because I think that if anything's a killer, it's being down 30. I don't even think losing, only winning 11 games, up to All-Star break is the killer. Losing in the manner in which they've lost a lot of these games, that's the killer. That's what causes the team to not have motivation. That's what causes the team to joke on the sideline, which people were getting on them for. That's what causes all these things, this culture. Losing by 30 and just not having a chance in hell to win a game. That is what causes the problem. But if you can go out every night and yes, you're losing, but it's just, all right, we're losing by 10, we're losing by 5, they hit a game winner to beat us. You can live that because you know there's an adjustment I can make as a team, as a player, that can maybe next time we're the one up 3 with 10 seconds left. We're the one up 10 with 5 minutes left. There's adjustments can be made. When you're down 30, it doesn't feel like there's anything you could do. Maybe if I score 100, you know what I mean? It felt as though this game is just going to be the start of a new era in Charlotte. I'm not saying that, keep the team as is, bring in LaMelo Ball, bring in the top 7 pick, bring in Mark Williams, boom, we're in the playoffs. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that we have some pieces, man. We have something to work with. We have something, as I said, to really, truly evaluate what we have. We have players that they're good enough to where I can actually feel like I can make a comfortable decision on where the team should go. Because before, you're throwing all these guys together and nobody's doing anything. It's like, I don't even know which direction is up. At least now, when our faults do start to come out, because there was still some in this game, we have a direction. We have some pieces. We understand who needs to go, who needs to stay, who needs to play less. We will be able to evaluate those things. But before, we were just playing guys because we didn't have anybody at all. They could do anything. So I think just we're in a new dawn for the Charlotte Hornets. And if you're a fan of another team, you may not understand that because you have a team that's good, or you have a team that at least has the direction. But if you are a fan of the Charlotte Hornets, then you completely understand that this is something we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for it. I don't think the record matters. We've been waiting to just have some pieces to actually understand what we got. So then when we do kind of feel it, understand what we struggle with, we know where to go. We know, okay, well, this guy's not doing this, so we can replace him with a guy that does this. We actually understand that. But when outside of your starters, and maybe even 4 of your 5 starters, there's nothing, you don't know what to do. You don't know if you need a backup point guard that'll fix it. You don't know if you need all of it, but you don't know what to attack first and who would kind of be a good fit. We're kind of heading in a better direction. I'll end this on a bad note, but not in like it just is what it is. But I need Nick Richards to, I don't know, something about him is still like he's just a little clumsy to me. I don't really get it. He played decent tonight, but there were some things where I saw him like leave guys open. He's not rotating. There's sometimes where like it's like a scramble, a pick is set, so then therefore they're trying to get the switch, and Nick doesn't guard anybody. He just says, all right, I'm just not going to guard anybody. And that causes an open 3. There was times where I just feel like he can't get the rebound. There's times where I felt like he had a pass in the chest and dropped it. I need better from him. We did just buy out Kyle Lowry before I recorded this video, so maybe they're going to be looking to bring in James Nagy. He of course, is going to make his mistakes, but I do feel like he's just a more solid, sturdy center, and he just plays with a different kind of energy than Nick Richards does. So I think that's going to be good for us. But overall, fantastic game by everybody. Fantastic game, it was so good to see Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges specifically, being able not just be just drenched in sweat and exhausted at the end of the game. I mean, yes, of course, they're going to be tired. They've just played a basketball game, but you get my point. It was good to be able to see those guys kind of just not force stuff because they have to. They were able to just whatever they felt like was a true good shot, whatever they felt like was a good play to make, they were able to act upon that as opposed to just forcing stuff because if you don't do it, then nobody else will either. So it was just good to be able to see that. Shout out to the new guys. Shout out to Steve Clifford for I think he staggered everybody's minutes well. And also, I don't know, you can say the owners called it. You can say Steve Clifford called it. I don't know. But shout out to them for just incorporating the new guys and not being worried about hurting the old guys' feelings. About old guys, I mean like Nick Smith Jr., Bryce McGowan's, Nathan Mensah. Is there somebody I'm forgetting? I can't think about it on the top of my head. Not saying Nick Smith Jr. is not good. I think Nick Smith Jr. is great. I think he's going to be a great piece for us in the future. But just to see what the new guys can do, I'm glad that we were able to kind of just bring them in and say, all right, y'all play. You other guys can wait. Because those guys, you had your chance. JT Thor is another one. You had your chance and you didn't really do much. I know Bryce McGowan played a little better last night against the Bucks, but we're down 30, so it doesn't really matter. I will say for Nick Smith Jr., this is completely irrelevant, but I will say for Nick Smith Jr., I do feel like some time in the G League would do him justice. And I'm normally against that, but I think basketball wise, I think he's good. I think he just needs to work on his decision making a little bit. I think he needs to work on his handle a little bit. He needs where he can just have the ball all the time. I think he's shown that he can be pretty good just being the guy that sits in the corner, hits open shots, and kind of do things like that. But there's another level to his game, and he's not going to be able to reach it, especially like when Melo Ball comes back, if he comes back in by the season, or it's just not going to be there for him to have that opportunity. G League, he can do literally whatever he wants and easily be the best player, one of the best top 10 players in the G League. So I do feel like that will do him justice, only because he's not going to have the opportunity to kind of develop those skills that he needs to develop. He needs to develop I'll call him his selfish skills, his ability to dribble, his ability to kind of run point, his ability to just take as many shots as he wants, and ability to get to the basket. Those things, he can do it, but he's doing it more in like an off-ball role to kind of reach his full potential. I think he needs to be able to kind of do it where he can be selfish, and he's obviously not going to be able to do that at where we currently are with his team, especially with bringing in the new guys. So I think some G League time will do him justice. Once again, not in a bad way. I just think he does need to be selfish, and he really, like I said, he really can't act on that being in the NBA as of right now. But thank you so much for watching the video. I'm very excited for the team, and it's late, so I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.